Good afternoon. My name's Erin O'Connor, and with my colleague Nadine Brayley, we are presenting our work on developing the professional identity of undergraduates through authentic community work. And we are deeply appreciative of our Uniting Care partners, Donna Scala and Naomi Sherrington. This is a sample from a full acknowledgement of country featuring our elder in residence, Uncle Chegg. We acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on which we teach, the Turrbal and Yagara nations, and pay our respects to their elders past and present. Our campus is located on a special site of Meanjin, or Brisbane, which has always been a meeting place for conversation, collaboration and learning, and we're really grateful to be able to continue this tradition of learning and researching. So this session was originally pitched as a workshop, and we would love to be in a collaborative space with you working on butcher's paper and encouraging interaction. However, like a lot of things this year, that wasn't meant to be. So what we can share with you is our model, trying to be explicit about the fundamentals of our design and curriculum. And what we hope to do, which might be a little bit different to some of the other presentations today, is to leave you with some prompts to explore the possibilities in your own institutions and communities. The starting point for us was a core belief that there is true value in a 3-year degree, but students are so often focused on missing out on honours, and employers can't be expected to unpack these graduate competencies in the midst of hectic recruitment processes and their own busy lives. What we were hoping for from this new unit that we developed was graduates who know the potential of their skills, their knowledge and capabilities, and that learning comes via direct interaction with employers and community. So we took the goal of developing a new capstone called Behavioural Science and Contemporary Challenges, using an immersive space for will, offering it in a way that could be scaled up to about 400 students by 2022, and then piloting it in the midst of COVID. This was an interesting experience, and this is a real picture from our online space. Okay, here is a place to pause and brainstorm. If you had similar goals, what would you do and where would you get your information from? You will see this slide each time we invite you to think about your own context. So where do your grads go? And what do employers really need from them? We found that some of our best collaborations actually came from our undergraduate placement unit. The alumni who had completed placements in the past and wanted to come back as supervisors had excellent feedback for us about the skills or capabilities that might have been missing from their training that were really in demand in the marketplace. And because undergraduate employability or employment is so diverse, it does take quite a bit of effort to understand your local context and understand who the main players are out there. Okay, have you had some time to think about that? I hope so. After each pause, we will also show you where we've worked and how we've been approaching different aspects of this unit development. So this is our team in 2021, along with our brilliant tutor, Che, who does appear later. Donna and Naomi are both of Uniting Care's Practice Improvement and Development group within Family and Disability Services. Now, as we and the students discovered, Family and Disability Services have a deep and broad influence across the whole of Uniting Care, particularly in areas of youth, families, women and mental health. It includes emergency and crisis care in a number of forms, all the Lifeline call centres in Queensland, Lifeline retail, homeless related services within Uniting Care and a whole range of others. Our discussions with other partners from our undergraduate placement unit and also with Uniting Care led us to understand that for our context and a lot of our partners, money and funding were always a tension, and that probably goes without saying for a lot of people in the community sector, but they particularly wanted students who understood how and why programs might be funded and what the process is behind that. So your context is likely to be a bit different, and your partners may have other ideas for you. Okay, so your turn again. What are your graduates lacking and what do employers really need? Our students and alumni were identifying some lack of understanding about how they could contribute the most to workplaces. So once you've identified your ideal partners, we'd encourage you to really quiz them on how well your training is serving students and the profession, or alumni in the profession. You'll likely get some really lovely feedback, that's great, but you're seeking the points of tension because this is your focus for your curriculum development.
Thanks, Erin. Hi, everybody. I'm Nadine and I'm Erin's partner in crime for the development of the capstone unit. So I guess what we were aiming for was a really nice reciprocal relationship between us and our students and their learning needs, and also the needs and targets of the partner organisation Uniting Care. In terms of how we structured the course or the unit, the front half was very much focused on giving students an understanding of the community sector and also some of the challenges that can come with working in the community sector. And that led really nicely into our major assessment piece for the unit, which was developing a grant prospectus document. And I'll be telling you a little bit more about that in a minute. Along the way, though, we also recognise the importance of helping students to develop skills around working in a team, and also some really practical applied sort of knowledge around things like writing, meeting agendas and notes, looking at sort of the project management aspect of the project, and also the importance of these skills for ongoing employability. You'll see here that there was, on the left-hand side of the screen is just one example of our touch points where our students were able to connect with our partner organisation. So this was Donna having a Zoom session with our students. While we encouraged them to tap into research and literature, connecting with our partner and understanding how to work with a partner was also a really critical part of their learning. And one of the things I think we would like to share with you was from our learnings around how important it was for us to really have our heads around the authentic learning task that we wanted to focus on in the unit. And because once we had a really good understanding of that, everything else pretty much flowed. So we were able to develop our more specific learning tasks and activities from that once we really had a good understanding of what that larger task sort of was, which for us was the prospectus document. I guess when considering the type of authentic learning task, we were really honed in on ensuring that the skills that the students would learn through the experience were those which would be really valued out in the workplace. And we found really interesting through our experience that, once the students understood that what they were doing was making a really significant contribution for Uniting Care, that had a really, really big impact on their engagement and motivation for the task. The other thing that we were conscious of was ensuring that the authentic learning task and experience would really have a significant impact on the development of the student's professional identity or their pre-professional identity. So giving them an understanding of the type of work that they can do in the future and the value that is held in the degree that they have. I guess the other thing to think about with the authentic learning task is the notion of the opportunity for students and organisations in the community sector to work in a co-design capacity. So building from that wonderful undergraduate curriculum that we have by bringing in the expertise of an external organisation such as Uniting Care, wonderful things can happen, and that certainly was our experience on this occasion. So what did we develop? The grant prospectus document was the key piece of assessment for the unit, but complementing that, we developed a number of test your knowledge quizzes. Students also undertook a number of mini modules, teaching them how to write meeting agendas and notes. And then our final piece of assessment as a transitioning out task, students wrote a professional reflection which pretty much focused on writing to a number of responses to a number of selection criteria and also writing a number of SMART goals as well. Taking you through each of these elements, albeit fairly quickly. So our knowledge checks were done through Blackboard. There were multiple choice questions and they tapped into the knowledge that students should have gained through participating in the tutorial program, but also a number of mini modules which were self-paced and done online. The team minutes and agendas, our teams were required to have 2 compulsory team meetings, and these were the agendas and notes which aligned with those meetings. The purpose of these were twofold. One was to teach students how to write agendas and meeting notes, but also to ensure that they were engaging in their teams at a suitable time and not sort of leaving all of this until the last moment. So building these sort of tasks enabled or made sure our students were engaging at an appropriate time of the semester. So the key piece of assessment for the unit is the grant prospectus document, and I can hear you asking, what is a grant prospectus document? It's basically the foundation document that organisations will often prepare in advance around a particular idea that they have, recognising that the lead time to apply for grant funding can often be very limited. If they have a prospectus document prepared earlier, this gives them something to launch from when they then go to apply for grant funding. It also is really handy. I guess we've looked at it as a really useful way to go within the unit, because with the semester timetable, it can be really tricky to tie in with specific grant schemes in terms of their due dates and so forth. So by setting this up as a grant prospectus document, it enables us to work with a bigger range of organisations and not be concerned about meeting those timelines. A really, really important part of the prospectus document task is for student teams to come up with a program or a service idea that will address a significant community issue. They're well supported to do this task through a comprehensive tutorial program. We show them how to write program logic models, how to develop service models, and we also have a full day workshop where we spend a considerable amount of time working through how to write an evaluation plan and also a program budget.
In 2021, our partner Uniting Care brought the topic of older women and homelessness to the class. There are two cohorts that students are asked to look into, and so we have separated out classes on each. The first is those women experiencing homelessness for the first time and women who have experienced a longer history of insecure housing. As older women are the fastest growing group of Australians experiencing homelessness, the students are really encouraged to see this as a core societal issue that needs intervention and attention and support. And they are regularly reminded that Uniting Care are applying for funding in this area quite regularly, and they are encouraged to think about their work as something that will have direct impact in the near future. Our final piece of assessment is a transition out activity focused on helping students communicate their skills and competencies to employers. So this assessment includes responding to selection criteria, and the selection criteria that they are asked to respond to are drawn directly from graduate roles advertised on SEEK in Queensland. Students are trained in the STAR-L approach in responding to selection criteria, and this is done through a workshop and also some online resources developed in partnership with our university's career and employment staff. The second part, to give students a glimpse of the life of lifelong learning required in contemporary professional roles, we ask students to construct 2 SMART goals, which are focused on skills or abilities they would like to develop further. In-class activities that support this include some training on SMART goals and also a skills audit that asks students to self-assess their existing skills, knowledge and competencies against a collection that have been developed with that careers and employment team and also APAC graduate competencies. So this is a genuine work in progress, and we were hoping to workshop this with you today and have those interactions. We have been trialling and we're working towards a 400 plus student trial in 2022. We know from student feedback and also from reading the grants that these teams are producing that there is a developing student identity, particularly around this space of value and potential contribution that they can make in their future workplace. There's an increased understanding of what the community sector is and that it might be a potential employer for a lot of our 3-year graduates. There's an understanding that is developing in students as well of how funding works, what grants are, and how that might apply across both community and the government sector.
A really valuable piece of learning for the students at QUT in terms of real world learning and engaging with what really happens. It's all of Naomi's job and part of my job, and these are the sorts of things that you know that don't often get talked about but are so critical to vulnerability in our community.
All going well? We are now standing by live to answer any questions that you might have about the curriculum or the partnership that we developed.